In the bleak future of the 21st century, there exist many ways of killing people in your rise to the top. From using railgun tech weaponry, various firearms of makes and models, to blades built into your arms. But what if in your adventure you chose to be frugal, using something so cheap that any person in town can buy it from a vending machine? This raises the question of, can you beat Cyberpunk 2077 with only the Slaught-O-Matic? The Slaught-O-Matic is by no means an ideal weapon. It cannot be modded, it cannot be upgraded, it spews more smoke when firing than a Chinese power plant. The sights are bulky, and it cannot be reloaded. By all means, this gun is a piece of shit, but it's cheaper than a high point, and the machines to buy can be found all over the city except for when you're actually looking for the damn things, in which case they are nearly non-existent. The challenge posed by the name is simple, using only the Slaught-O-Matic to deal any offensive action towards a hostile NPC, so using anything that is not a hole-punching super soaker is disqualified. If I shoot an explosive barrel, or if I shoot an enemy that was throwing a grenade and they drop it to the floor, I think that's okay if I use the Slaught-O-Matic to do so, especially since the possibility for it to happen accidentally is always there. The life path I chose to start with does not matter, aside from the Nomad path, which does involve a car chase shootout against Militech. So I start with the Street Kid path instead. After performing corrective surgery, accepting a job that was not a real choice to steal Elon Musk's Cybertruck, taking a ride with Big Daddy, getting called a shit bucket by a man who decided a baby doll face would look good on him, you get stopped by Jackie Wells, and then both of you stopped by the world's fastest police response ever, thrown into the streets, and then both of you become friends through some obviously cut content and a massively missed opportunity. After 6 months of world building and friendship had been glossed over, you are ready to start your first real mission, retrieving Sandra Dorset from a den of ruffians and their unwitting organ donors. Notably, you start the game off with something that is not a 3D printed Nerf gun, and there are no vending machines in sight that would correct the error, and that sight does not change as you continue through the hotel. The game presents you with its first challenge to deal with by placing an enemy facing a cooler and wanting you to stealthily take him out and hide his corpse. But that action would not be committed with the Slaught-O-Matic, so despite this being a tutorial level, I would like to treat this like the real thing. Trying to go around him would obviously trigger an alert state across the hideout, and I do not have the means to damage them myself. I decided that I cannot fight these people, but Jackie, on the other hand, can. Jackie does not use the Slaught-O-Matic, but I am not Jackie, and Jackie is not me. Therefore, he is allowed to damage these people. If you have an issue with this, then please tell me in the comments or downvote this video, where I will take this under consideration at some point after uploading. Jackie was only somewhat ineffective considering the amount of enemies he had to deal with. When it was one-on-one in close proximity, he dealt fairly decent damage and was able to kill them very quickly. But in the next room over, it was much more time-consuming to have him deal with all of them. He went down several times but kept getting back up, which cemented the fact that he was bulletproof and nothing bad would ever happen to him. I tried running between the bad guys to make them hurt each other, but that seemed to hurt me more than it hurt them. But in due time, Jackster did kill all of them except for the boss, which I thought was going to be even more tedium. But thankfully, our resident hacker, T-Bug, finally gave enough of a shit to unlock the window, so I could go through and Jackie could insta-kill the leader in a nice little animation. When it was all said and done, it had only taken 16 minutes, and I have 0 non-Slaught-O-Matic kills under my conscience. Trauma Team swooped in to take credit for the work. Me and Jackie went down the elevator towards the car, while Jackie performed magic tricks with his golden guns. And I would have to deal with the first on-rails section coming up shortly. The section wasn't necessarily that bad, I just simply had to heal through all the damage until the driver of the van decided that he needed to play DPS instead of support, and then crashed into the side of the building, killing everyone inside the van. After that, it was smooth sailing into Watson and into my bed so I could start the game properly the next morning. After waking up and immediately talking to Jackie again, I head out the door, down the hallway, past the machine that contains my arsenal, so I could sell every weapon, clothing item, bullet, and miscellaneous object I have so I could buy as many squirt guns as I possibly can. Which is only 10, but that's still 360 shots I can fire at something before I have to wave the white flag. I head down to Jackie, get my wheels, head over to Vic's clinic so I can get the warranty on my eyeballs renewed, and a grip pad installed onto my hands so I no longer have to deal with friction burns or slippery surfaces. After Vic gives me drugs and a pat on the back for no longer playing T-ball, Jackie informs me that a real-life Golden Buddha wants me to go to Steak and Shake with him, but first I need to try out my purchase on a band of kitty cats who got into a scuffle with the fuzz. The guns performed relatively well against enemies with weapons that contain more metal content than anything in my inventory at the moment. A buff to headshot damage via a perk seemed to even the odds a little bit better. But it did raise the point that on hard mode I'm going to need more medical supplies to even the odds a slight amount. So after dealing with the hooligans, I took their Minecraft car to go insult a shaman's culture before purchasing the real miracles of modern medicine. Then off to another small crime in progress where I was amazed at the fact I killed a ganger in under a second. then was disappointed to find out that he was the exception to the rule before the leader of this group turned the tables on me by healing as well and almost killing me. What saved my hindsight was the fact that my hand implant had a speech skill of 100 and max charisma, so it could convince the bullets that missed to try again and redirect themselves towards the enemy. Which negates part of the downside of using the weapon. I might remove it later since it feels a bit cheating to shoot the ground for better results than actually aiming the damn thing. So weighing my pockets down with more cash than I've ever had at one time in real life, I've made my way over to Goldilocks and his pet bear, which I don't think is meant to be driving, but maybe things are different in the future. He asks me some meaningless drivel, gives me some background story, shows me his PowerPoint presentation of a sonic screwdriver we have to get from some metalheads, and lets me back out of the car smelling slightly of nicotine. I did some shopping, did some fighting, got some intel on something pertaining to human trafficking, died to a random boss fight I didn't stand a chance against because hard mode is in fact hard. Notice there was this issue where my character would either drop or throw away the guns randomly, which is obviously annoying in a fight against enemies that can actually hurt you. I think it happens during certain animations like parkour, but this means the guns themselves act like the HMG pickup weapons in this case, yet you can store the guns in your inventory, which is something to consider moving forward of how this can fuck me. I then ran into the issue where every single Slaught-O-Matic I had in my inventory was being thrown away. Obviously this is a problem. Loading a save did not fix it. In fact, it almost made it worse since this game is made by professionals and definitely a finished product at launch. There is a pseudo-duplication glitch, as now I had more Slaught-O-Matics I started with after picking them up, since the number of my inventory does not go down after throwing them. This happened to me before with the HMGs and other playthroughs, but usually since you don't store them, I don't think the problem doesn't happen as egregiously. The game crashed after I dropped every single one of them and tried to pick them up. Selling all of them did seem to unfuck the situation, but that did leave me behind on some cash. I think if I only ever have one equipped at one time, it might help prevent the glitch from happening again. While waiting for it to become dark so I could visit Lizzie's bar and talk to Evelyn, I decided to go after Jotaro Kujo, and mulled it over in my head that since this glitch is entirely possible, if I should permit myself to use stealth takedowns. But I don't want to not use the gun, since that's the entire point of the challenge, is to use a shitty weapon, but if the game is preventing me from doing so, then I will make the executive decision, but for now, time to get into another showdown. I start in the garage at the bar where I deal with the mechanics, killing one of them in a gas explosion and the other one shortly after. The issue of damage and health on this difficulty strike again, but I don't want to turn it down even after I did die again. The challenge is supposed to be the gun and not the damage and health system being too unbalanced. The glitch happened again. After dropping my current stash and buying new ones from the machine, it seemed to resolve itself. Going back into combat, I took out the mechanics. Patrons of the bar obscured my vision as they ran out of the establishment, where I had to force myself to not fire or getting the cops after me. I was forced to hide as my health dipped again, and a tiger claw who looks way too much like D from the YouTube channel Node got up close and personal, but was dispatched quickly enough. One guy said something really weird, and then someone from behind me, stuck in a wall, had killed me, so I decided I should turn the difficulty down a little bit. The game's still pretty hard right now, even on easy, but I did find a band-aid solution to the problem of guns glitching out. When one is meant to be thrown away, it is sometimes re-looted automatically, and that gun shouldn't exist in my inventory even though it does. If I unmark all my purchased ones, then the one that is re-lootable will always have a new mark on it when it's thrown but somehow gets back to my inventory, so I simply delete that one and the rest do in fact work. This problem shouldn't happen in the first place, but I'm glad I figured out a way around it. So as I make my way through the bar towards Joestar, I leave behind as much litter as an environmentalist protest as I step over every corpse I leave behind, having to go through less of them as I thought I would, since they keep opening the doors for me to the penthouse floor. Plot twist, Elvis is alive and well, and he installed a turret into the ceiling. Thankfully, I quick saved before fighting it. Another plot twist, that Band-Aid solution got ripped the fuck off and now is not working again. Probably because I died or something. Glad I'm figuring all this stuff out early. I retreated from the bar to sell my somewhat duped items, among other what I walked out with between my legs, to reevaluate my position. I cannot deal damage or do offensive action towards someone that isn't with the Slaught-O-Matic. That was my original goal, but it's seemingly like that goal is going to be severely hindered as this early in the game, so I'm mulling it over on whether or not stealth, non-damaging attacks like quick hacks or flashbang grenades should be allowed, but I was really looking forward to using the Nerf gun the entire time. Oh well, I retreated to Lizzie since it's the proper time frame for that mission to begin, and for me to gloss over it completely since it's just dialogue and brain dances. So after taking half an hour to go feed the fish at work, I feel like I'm going to allow a little bit more leeway on what counts as an offensive action against an enemy, so this is going to be too much of a headache otherwise. I'm allowed to gun bash if the weapon in hand is a Slaught-O-Matic. I can use non-damaging quick hacks such as whistle, sonic shock, or distract enemies. I can use recon or flashbang grenades. I can only stealth take down someone who is deafened or blinded, not if they are distracted. Went to Lizzie's, talked a bunch, fuckable meat, etc. I want to get the credit chip from Meredith Stout since I cannot rely on the Slaught-O-Matic inside the All Foods meat facility as much as I would like. So I'd like to have the entirety of the Maelstrom Freaks on my back against Militech inside the base. I hacked the virus right off the thing in front of her and she was too blinded by her rage to notice anything at all. Afterwards I did decide to go buy a few more Slaught-O-Matics, in which case I probably should have waited to break the chip. Oops. Jack and Daxter go to All Foods to meet the hamburger. Jackie says we need to play by their rules and then immediately starts shit-talking them, but sits down right after anyways. Royce comes out and says we should pay again. We give him the money and Militech starts attacking. It's much easier to defend against an entire army when you have one of your own, not so much when I realized I did not have anywhere near enough guns to last me through the fight with 2 mechs and Royce's own mech, which was seemingly worthless until I weakened one enough to let him kill it, at which point he went full anime on the last mech and machine gunned to death with his plasma cannon. Dum Dum gave me that good shit. We left the building, where it was time for the heist we've been waiting for all of 20 minutes in cutscene time to actually start, because this is supposed to be the Act 1 high point. Since the guns weren't working how I'd like them to, I was having a hard time deciding what I should put my perk and attribute points into. I couldn't operate on hanging back and letting my meat shields do what I couldn't when another glitch happens, so I feel like I need to put them all into the gun steel anyways in the event they do work. It seems mostly like it happens after dying anyway, so I do need more survivability, but if it starts getting to be too easy, I will turn the difficulty back up to normal. If I go and do the heist, I won't be able to use any gun I pick up, so I decide I should upgrade my health and stealth if possible, even though I'd rather like to shoot my way through, but I don't feel like letting Jackie solo another fucking mech in Nakatomi Plaza if we get spotted. This is where things fall apart. Nothing happens up to getting the ship. Saburo committing tangential autoerotic asphyxiation, though I did take some pictures with Adam Smasher, who seemed thrilled to be there, and I think he has a crush on me. I couldn't successfully sneak past this one set of guards, for who whatever reason could not be distracted by anything, so I had to haul ass past everything to get to the garage elevator, which worked perfectly, and we didn't have to fight the mech. The problem came from afterwards when we were forced to fight a drone boss that first I assumed was like the other chase sequence, where if I healed enough, it would be fine, but it turns out in patch 1.5, CDPR decided that you should die instantly upon a certain amount of time passing, because fuck melee players or anyone not spec'd using pistols. Nothing I did worked. I couldn't heal right when I died to see if that would break the game. I couldn't force Delamain to use that rocket pod sticking out of the trunk. I couldn't do anything. And it turns out that if I didn't grab the pistol from the apartment, I would have been stuck with something worse. I'm at an impasse. I cannot use this gun. I cannot wait for this thing to crash. I could justify that since it's a drone, I'm not killing anyone by using it. It still doesn't feel right. I do have one more option, to see if I can buy a Slaught-O-Matic, have it equipped before starting the heist, pick up nothing else throughout the level. Will I be able to use it during the fight? I went back in time, had the meeting with Big Smoke and Abunga in the Ghost Zone. Left to buy another pink pistol, did all the bullshit with the car, Delamain's my spirit animal, did the flathead, grabbed the iguana egg, did everything with the chip, ran like hell once more to the garage, and was met with a twofold upset. Not only did they force me to use the Unity, which is not a piece of plastic, the Slaught-O-Matic is actually in my inventory, but you are still equipment locked during this section. The boss drone did actually take a sliver of damage from some random enemies, but it dealt so little and was so inconsistent to it that by the time we drove away from them, it didn't really matter all that much. There is no way for me to get around this. Under normal circumstances, you cannot beat Cyberpunk 2077 using only the Slaught-O-Matic. But the game's not over yet. I have one more option available to me thanks to being on PC. Console commands. Those didn't work either. I went to a previous save where I had at least the iconic pistol from the apartment as a cell, and I killed the drones. Delamain doesn't take emergency stops at hospitals for some reason. Was too busy writing the script to pay attention to the game right now. Jackie gives me his special potato chip before going to the big shebang in the sky. I chose to send his remains to a doctor like a fucking sane person rather than deposit his corpse in front of his mother. I stood in defiance of Chungus and Cheech used the hando to teleport me into his fist, then Dex turned off my lights. It's rockin' time. Take to the skies in a helicopter that shouldn't be able to turn. The future is now. A turret section, where I face new technicalities since these are Johnny's memories. These have always happened this way, and for all I know, the Slaughtomatic hasn't been invented yet. Not to mention, this is mostly a fabrication of Johnny's moon-sized ego, so none of this is real, and I don't care about using his gun. The elevator gets blown out. It's smashing time. Johnny gets a brain blast. V gets a trip to the Matrix. Keanu asks the important questions. Wake the fuck up, samurai. How did fuck the Dex bury V under so much shit? Most engaging gameplay I've seen since Metal Gear Solid 5's hospital scene. An unsatisfying loss of our own revenge story. A weird time skip and a cool sequence that honestly should have been purely cinematic. Along with another railroad where I'm forced to use something that is not a Slaught-O-Matic, or else me and Takeout Box both die. Really feels like I haven't used the Slaught-O-Matic all that much, to be honest. After the sequence, I do not shoot the pinned assassin since I am no longer forced to use the sci-fi gun. More cutscenes, more talking, not realizing my character is awake despite blinking 30 times a minute. Crawling in my skin. Got ready for the day by going to meet Takeout at Tom's, who can't hold his honor long enough to actually explain his plan. I got more distracted by the reboot of Paw Patrol to listen to anything that Chester Copperpot has to say. Bought a real gun for the first time in several hours and went to commit random acts of violence against the peaceful citizens of Townsville. Got a job to poke around for someone's eye, almost got fingered by a tiger claw with crabs, left the way I came and nobody was none the wiser, but I was wizened by my wizardry with technology when I pulled $10,000 out of Militech's ass, and now had to scratch to pay for Pan Am's booty if I chose to go to Rogue instead of Judy, but neither options lead to combat, so I don't feel obligated to do either one. I got Jackie's bike, got more guns, decided not to get fingered, got into trouble, got paid by Waka Waka, talked to Judy, then talked to Rogue. While waiting for Rogue to get her shit together, I decided to work on finding Evelyn at Clouds, which was another area that forces you to unsecond amendment yourself. On the way there, I was contacted by Takamura, who I will do his thing later. In another sequence that is only fun the first time, I cut the cord on Barbie and she told me to go meet Ken, which leads to the issue of not being able to get into the VIP area without a VIP access token, which can be found on the guards, but I cannot decommission them without attacking them. Trying to sneak through a door where a tiger walks through obviously failed. I went outside and up the elevator to the VIP section, talked to Tom, hacked the camera to get into the office and failed. Tried again and failed again. I assume it happened automatically. Got in, talked to Woodman, failed, did again, succeeded, left. Johnny tried to teach me Terrorism 101, but went over my head and under his skin, leaving me with a migraine that I probably shouldn't have driven with, but it did help hide the janky car and people animations. Judy called to meet at Jig Jig Street to find the humanoid worm I already knew of. Since I was in the area, I went to Takamura so I could talk to his favorite brick wall, but made no progress. Then I told him to go to Jig Jig Street as well, since all roads lead there. Found fingers and made his face at least somewhat internally resemble the face of the woman he rudely left on the operating table. While in town, I stopped to help Takasaurus to level up his speech skill at the Old Lady of the Woods, who in turn gave us an inspirational video about balloons to soothe his feelings of inadequacy and told him to stay safe. Met with Judy in the Mystery Machine and we played Guess Who VR Edition, which was over quickly, thank God. I declined to ride with her because women drivers scare me. Went to go get some guns for my first full mission of Macabre Madness. Fast traveled to the wrong area but stopped to file a police report against the gang harangues who were making trouble, presumably. Was amazed at my newfound capacity for violence and went to the correct area to start. Judy gave me a pep talk. I gave myself 20 seconds of silence before unleashing hell upon the soulless monsters wearing fake clown masks. It took 7 hours, but I'm finally here, actually playing the damn game with the challenge-appropriate gun, and aside from having to keep going to the menu every time I run out of ammo, it felt great. Might have to turn up the difficulty after this mission, but otherwise this is what I was expecting from the start before all the endless dialogue and forced peace levels, which took all the wind out of my sails. After looting everything on the first floor and eating an extra large burrito out of the last person, me and Judy went to the darkest depths of depravity in the lower levels. We continued to tear through all before us, and none of them stood a chance. Almost got a perfect 3-shot kill, which would have been cinematically pleasing, but I failed. We found Evelyn, pulled her out, and escaped via wormhole to Judy's apartment. I bumped up the difficulty, did the first brain dance, gotta go to Pacifica. When prompted if I wanted to do the second brain dance, they cucked me by giving only the option to say yes, because your choices matter in this game. I got a tutorial on French, learned nothing of importance, and then went back out of the brain dance so I could go kill some more people. Mr. Hands gave me the rub on where I can find the voodoo boys. He told me to call back later when he actually learned something, so in the meantime I chose to go talk to Rogue about Hellman. Before I did that, I decided I should go try my hands against the cyber psycho Lieutenant Mower to see where I stand. Of course, things break again, so I go buy more. When I returned, it was more of a breeze than I expected. Had some trouble due to the elemental effects, but I never felt I was in much danger and got some loot out of it in return. Takamura called to start the next part of his quest, but I will continue with Rogue first so I can make progress on that front at the same time as the others. Rogue bought me a drink, showed me her usual Warzone strategy for getting intercepted airdrops before the gas closes in, told me I need to team up with a pro player with a javelin missile named Panorama, gave me her DM so I could get good. Rode to her trying to keep an eye out for more machines, but no such luck befell me. But there was a town nearby with vendors that I hope will be worth my time. After loading up the farm on Black Ops 2, I couldn't find the pack-a-punch machine even though the power was already turned on. I considered it a bust and left to go play Transit, but the weapon walls didn't provide what I was looking for either, because they are not insane enough to actually carry these damn things. I'd make more COD jokes, but I've only played Black Ops 3 and Ghosts. I went back to the apartment since I know it's got one there, changed my threads to be more snazzy and match the area I was going to, placed the iguana egg I forgot I had and am not going to see hatch, left for Tanner Pastures. We drove over hill and dale to her camp where we gathered her camping supplies, courtesy of 2 side characters, one of which gets nowhere near the amount of screen time he deserves. The plan is to lure in the Riffin Raffin to an old town with the allure of barbecue bills. While they are distracted by the sweet southern aroma, we attack. Starting with the closer targets, my damage isn't as strong in terms of body shots as I had grown used to on easy mode, but that does not bother me. After dealing damage and dying to sniper shots, I have come to terms that I am required to really pay attention to cover and prioritize my targets. Even with Panam providing Overwatch with Overwatch, it's tricky business to stay alive, requiring good aim and combat sense to make sure I don't die above all else, as that provides all sorts of pains in my ass. I figured if I needed, I could drop all my guns to help alleviate the glitch, but it becomes less reliable than I like if you keep watching, but we're both too far in to quit at this point, and we know it. One of these motherfuckers was really fond of poison since the Geneva Convention ceased existing in 2023, but I learned how to clown on their grenades and render them to be slightly more toxic fireworks by shooting them in midair. Slowly but surely they were whittled down as I healed through the pain, and Cold Blood was only slightly less useless than I would have liked for it to be, but they all fell down regardless. Panam kickstarted my fear of autonomous femme vehicularis as she kicked me into the passenger seat, and only confirmed it when she drove erratically through the tunnels to formally front-stab her formerly backstabbing compadre. It was a struggle to fight in an enclosed area. I died a few times, but as soon as I remembered the safest place to hide from a sniper was directly under their scopes, I rushed in to take the high ground from them. Killing the first sniper, and was left to deal with Nash, who can cha-cha slide real good, all around my easy-bake bullets. But once I turned up the tempo, his 2 left feet got the best for him, and he was down for the count. Like Thanos, it was inevitable, and his gun would soon wander the black market of Night City. Panam calls me out on how stupid this challenge is. After Miss Worldwide's 4th tantrum of the day, she enlisted my help as a rent-a-glock for the evening, where I do not receive wages via a contract loophole, so she could deliver the goods to some very proud boys. Then we went to sleep. Then we woke up, and after driving to the hot zone for some sweet loot, I realized I did not have enough guns for killing all the Kang Tao robots, killing the Kang Tao agents at the airport, then killing the Kang Tao agents inside the gas station to kidnap Hellman. So it was retime 2022-23 at the time of this script, and I was going to go to church, but like in Life is Strange, reversing time has drastic effects on the weather. But I persevered as I was intrigued what the Pacifica reveal would look like in this weather. My game crashed when I decided I wanted to back the blue and drop test my weapons. Freed up some space on my PC by deleting COD Warzone, so I'm no longer qualified to make COD jokes. This script is 5,000 words long and I'm 8 hours in, please help me Jesus. I logged back into the sandstorm but was forced away at the church so a man could touch my elbow to see if I noticed. Told me to find a man named Flaccid because his chicken was whipped and beheaded so he could no longer do the job that was required by a real man. After I talked mad shit towards him, he kindly told me the job he had in mind. A week ago at the Grand Petting Zoo, an AT&T service rep came in and gave all the animals within unlimited data to stream cat videos, bringing them fully under control to guard the zoo viciously, while he attempts to bypass the VPNs of the Backstreet Boys to flood their servers with ads and throttle their data. Our job is to go in and stop the further monopolization of 6G data by the corporation in Pacifica. If I must put down the fluffy creatures within with a 3D printed version of a Storm flashlight, then so be it. Doubly so since it pisses off Placide. The guard dogs on the outside didn't pose much of a threat. Then again, neither did the ones on the inside. My upgrades into cold blood and handguns both allowed me to deal with many of the animals in exponentially easier fashion, as one fell before the other, lending me greater damage to dispatch the next one. Even with the verticality of them all in my favor, it was still no easy feat. Some of the animals learned that guns can be used from further away than melee range, combined with the auto turret in the back of the room, and the occasional strong independent woman among them who was able to punch my face in and knock me down, causing me to lose my gun and be forced to grab a new one. It was more of a challenge than it would have seemed otherwise, even though they weren't able to thankfully do much damage to me since distance and healing items. But the dreaded moment had come, where I was surrounded by juicers in the Mall of America with no gun. Running and healing provided me with time to try to search for a new machine to deposit death dispensaries from, but had not yielded themselves to me, no matter the tedium I faced. I could not escape as the Netrunner had locked the doors, and I had to admit defeat. So I went back once more, this time resolute in my knowledge that I required guns. Lots of guns. I went to the machine at the church, let it rain that colorful plastic like a lead slot machine. At least until it stopped giving me guns but kept taking my money because I guess it only holds a certain amount per day. So I went back, got what I could, went to the apartment to get even more, overloaded myself and had to drop some items. I have 49 guns with 36 rounds in them, giving me 1,764 rounds of ammo that I have to get through the GIM with. And so I set out again, showing no mercy to the dwellers outside, nor to the ones within as I slaughtered them all, one after the other falling before me as I ran out and pulled out another, their health dropping faster as cold blood stacks replenished and I got up close and personal to maximize my hit chance of damage. Others I shot from a distance, others I ran past to dance around their shots. The ebb and flow of range and mobility guided me, switching from distance shooting from cover to up close and mobile, as one strategy became more effective than the other for even a moment's notice, and when it stopped working I switched to the other within a hair's breadth, knowing being out of place for even a moment would leave me vulnerable and stuck in place to die and lose my progress. Soon after, enemies had no longer given chase, I had to employ one more strategy to get to the turret, to break combat for just a moment and run up close so I can destroy it where it couldn't shoot me, and then turn to the final animal downrange, and that was it. The GIM was cleared out and my path to the Netrunner van was secure. But that wasn't all there was to it. This was the warm-up. With 30 guns remaining, I had to face the boss of the area, Sasquatch. I knew she had an implant in her back that gave her fast health regeneration, and so to start the match, I had performed a stealth attack against my own principles, which also lowered her health by 25% to the start, and she went down very quickly. This wasn't right. This is not what I needed to do for this challenge. I went back once again and set the game to hard mode. I wanted to honor this boss by making sure she could actually withstand my attacks, even if I didn't know what I was getting into at the time. I performed my ritual to ensure the weapon's functionality as best as possible, and then stepped out to meet her. She immediately spit in my face and laughed, taking me down and killing me quickly after getting some gratuitous screenshots. The next round, I started putting rounds into her before the fight even started. Her regen was more than enough to counter my pea shooter. So after trying to figure out how to best weave around her, she threw her hammer at me through some pop-up displays and blitzed my body before it even hit the ground, and I started a countdown timer for the fight by plugging a virus into my head that would kill Placide in an unknown amount of time. The pressure was on as I panicked enough to open photo mode, pause, open and close the menu before even seeing the inventory screen. I put shot after shot, dodged and ducked under her every hammer swing to try and shoot her weak point, but her size always betrays any notion of her lumbering frame being a hindrance to her mobility. But even she can get tired after her combos as she is forced to breathe, in which I point blank shoot into her back to try to break the implant. Her hammer throws were also points of opportunity that were hindered by some of my guns being broken and forced to deal with them, which led to the bar on my screen filling up further and further as seemingly no progress was made in the fight due to the lack of visual feedback on damaging her back. It raged on every minute, lasting a lifetime as I tried to get the upper hand. At some point, she stopped using her hammer and switched to her fist, which threw me off completely as I tried to dodge her slam attacks, but kept getting knocked down. Then, for a moment, switched to pure evasion mode just to taunt me. The screen flickered a daunting red. Placide wouldn't shut the fuck up. I got knocked down again and again and again until I finally did it. It was only a matter of time until either my countdown ran out or I was able to deal enough damage to defeat Squatch the correct way. I kept my distance, kept myself healed. I had plenty of guns left to keep peppering her from a distance. Even if she knocked me down, I felt good that I could drop her. Her health went down from 58 to 50% in no time. I go to heal from the blow she dealt, and then the game fucking crashed. Then I went to bed after writing this part of the script because fuck that shit with a piece of rebar. Slept about 4 hours, felt like shit, started the game back up, and not really feeling the fight right now. I maintain my ammo by dodging around the weird hitboxes as best I could, get hit a bunch, break her power stone, and pretty comfortably kill her without any other crashes. I show respect to the great beast by letting her live. I meant to drop her hammer, but I forgot. I have no time for the NetWatcher's PowerPoint presentation, as there have been way too many already. I shoot him in the face at first, which was a mild annoyance, but soon the lead poisoning sets in and it becomes catatonic. The hoodoos use my brain as a proxy to dox the remaining AT&T operators in the area so they can push their new ISP conglomerate and try to kill me in the process. It didn't work. I'm out for blood. I walk back to the shanty, call someone out on his shit, and immediately face the consequences. I sell the shit I picked up so I could free up some space. I didn't buy more zip guns for some stupid reason, which was going to bite my ass later. I met Big Mama, joined the railroad, took a soak, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. John shot first. Already decided this is all in the past and already failed, so let me have my fucking catharsis. Vic got a tan, Blade Runner 2020, more failure. More shitty chases. Frame rate fails in this part for some reason. Laying siege to Arasaka again. I decided to minimize my failure and traded Thompson for the cameraman role. Female empowerment simulator. A pretty cool death. Rogue breaks free of her DV situation. More screenshots, more shooting. A boss tried to bring Fist to a gunfight, died after realizing his mistake. JoJo's bizarre cover system. Not my fault. Also not my fault. I don't know what those are referring to. More Matrix shit. Oh, probably punching the guy. Anyways, more Matrix shit. Talked to a naked ghost woman who can kill me to heal me. Fucked around and almost found out because synths are evil. Plus, I didn't want anyone in this room to survive, even me, if it didn't make playing the game harder. More glitches. A bunch of snitches. Almost made it to the church, running low on guns. Got into a boss fight with Placid. He knows he only has to dodge until I run out of guns to shoot him with. The spirit of Dum Dum was with me as I mag dumped into Placid's head without taking damage. And then I died. Cleared out the catacombs, hit a switch that does nothing, and even the game tells me it doesn't know what the hell it does. Snuck around the Twoodoos and made my way to victory. The door is locked and wood is indestructible. I have to fight Placid. Poor bastard doesn't know how right he is. Placing my shots to try to do something to Placid did nothing except make it take longer. I run behind cover, and with 2 guns left, I decide that punching him to death is a valid strategy since explosions meant nothing to Doodlebob. I found a spot where I could shoot him with ricochets consistently, but lacked the weapons to utilize his discovery. With a single bullet to my name, I gave in to the urge to boop his giant snoot while running in and out of cover. It probably would take a minimum of 5 to see any results if I'm being optimistic. I let combat go out so I could save, lure him to a more optimal location to batter him to death with my long-range egg beater. I flipped the switch for no other reason than just to see what happens, and he goes down. I don't know why, it didn't do anything earlier. I saw no damage markers, so I don't even know if he took damage, he just fell unconscious. I took his shit, put my last bullet to good use so I can actually say I did in fact shoot him with the gun, rubbed my rainons on his face, and then I left. Took drugs to ignore my problems just like Johnny taught me. Sold my shit, bought more shit, and moved on to capturing Hellman. I talked about my feelings, bought more guns, upgraded my carry capacity, left to ride around a little bit, went back to Panam, her ass must be fused to that seat by now, rode around, failed the challenge, waited, died twice, failed again. She blinded me with science, Panam pushed the button. She pulled out a rocket from somewhere, Mad Max, failed again. Panam makes Jackie look like a bitch. Pretty sure I told Panam to cover me, but the game is acting like I told her to stay in the car. Disabled the turret, killed the drone. Panam killed all the robots. I shot the pilot. A whole lot of talking. Chased the holograms. Tried to get into a gunfight, but between the armor of the enemies and Panam one-shotting everything, I felt a little shafted. Rode again. Walked into a minefield. Died. Played it slow. Got insta-killed. Tried to turn off the turrets. No such luck. Tried to haul ass to the doors. They're all locked. I just need to get the Hellman. These enemies are too strong for me to handle right now, and I assume it's their armor, but I don't want to have to keep dropping my guns repeatedly. Started doing pretty good until something randomly exploded. This is now getting out of hand. Ran inside, funneled the enemies a bit, blew them up, continued on. Stuck the cover and aimed carefully. Panam took care of the outside stuff. I ran upstairs and found Hellman. Almost didn't fail, but then it spawned a Unity for me to hit him with. Called Takamura, but Panam called Saul. I talked to Hellman. Got a brain scan. Left. More talking. Said no to peer pressure. Johnny said I'm not a cool kid anymore. I faced my demon head on. Someone else tried to be the hero. Next is go meet Takamura after he instant transmission himself to another location. I stopped the local party gone wrong, gone sexual, not clickbait when I started to get the feeling I might be slightly underleveled for the area. I went and did some police scanners, some gigs, even a side job or 2 for a small XP boost. I'm pretty sure Barry will get over himself soon and be perfectly happy in a few days. I even went back to that bastard Jotaro and killed him. Then I started to wonder if I should try to get some non-damaging cyberware, at least maybe some thermal armor or something to boost crit rates, but even those feel like I'm operating less under my own conditions and throwing something else into the mix. With implanting the virus and the Arasaka Parade missions coming up as the penultimate set of missions in the game, I don't want to take too much longer, mostly for the sake of the video, which is still going to be close to an hour, but if you're still here, thank you and congratulations. I decided to only operate with the weapons themselves and the perk I chose, as well as armor, obviously. I'll probably regret my choice later, but for now, I will go meet Takamura to discuss his desire to jump off the bridge and onto a float so he can tell his princess how he was framed. Afterwards, we commit small-scale digital vandalism and gloss over how Oda will turn my intestines into fried sausages with his fucking lightsabers. To get some practice with raining on Arasaka's parade, we have to go to the park where they keep her favorite bouncy castle and fill it with more than the OSHA-regulated amount of helium to raise it high enough to not turn Takamura's knees and ankles into shrapnel that would blast upwards through his body upon receiving the opposing force of the landing. I decided not to go with him. He will go to the park and conduct his recon in his trench coat with his binoculars in spite of his restraining order. In the meantime, I wish to level my handgun skill to maximum if possible. Maybe add a few more into the cold blood skill for posterity. I got a vinyl and some new threads. I saved a woman from a kidnapping. Died trying to fight Tony the Tiger. Crashed. Killed them all and raided a drug lab, as well as getting a mission from Pan Am, but I forgot to hit record and I'm not going back for that footage. Crashed hard enough to restart Steam. Currently at 8,000 words and have heart palpitations. Fuck yeah. I tried to raise the masses against their corporate oppressors, but they'd rather run around and let me do all the work. Died again. Got further. Crashed. While I wait for Takamura to call back, I decide to hit up Pan Am, who wants me to find Waldo, which would be a good opportunity to level up for a bit. I get distracted by a shooting contest, which I aced. Got upset with knowing there's a second vending machine in this building, but after I leave, the door will close forever, and went to Pan Am. She says something about a storm, but it's too bright for me to notice. Probably should have turned down the difficulty, but I'm a stubborn ass sometimes, even bigger than Pan Am's. Fought the Wraith boss, who could invert his wrist around the corner, but killed him eventually. I let her take care of the guys outside, even the ones I didn't know she could shoot at. I went to the roof, then inside, then down the stairs. Couldn't take the secret tunnel out, so I had to go back up. Got into a scuffle. Then another, then I left. Then we got Mad Max Fury Roadrunner into a Darude sandstorm, where thankfully it did not make me use a different gun. Then we hunkered down for the night, I got money, and then the mission was completed. I went dumpster diving for the chance to receive a new car. Turns out my insurance doesn't cover demonic possession, so I traded it in for cash prizes instead. Got a new mission from Gertrude. Ran a gig, then ran away from the gig when I got my ass kicked because I have no fucking armor or good weapons and implants. Went to an easier area where I fought some dudes, stole a truck, then killed my friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Finally turned down the difficulty when doing another gig and wondered if it was too low considering this one guy was only doing 1 damage to me. Met Takamura at the start of the float mission but wasn't sure about my chances of fighting everyone. Saw an Arasaka truck go through the gate, so I found another one, and the guy didn't seem to care anymore about life.
Whatever, I don't care.
And then I drove in no problem. Climbed the building, stealthed my way around the guards and cameras onto the float, uploaded the virus, and left. I didn't expect to do that so easily. Maybe it's because I turned the difficulty down too much, I don't know. I found a Terminator reference. Did another mission while waiting for Takamura, and it happened to be the one with the worst design in the game since they spawned cars out for the sole purpose of fleeing themselves into traffic. Turns out the best way to do this mission is to just drive normally and not like you're trying to chase people like an insane person. Billy Boy gets shot. I go with the guy with the Messiah complex who insists he doesn't despite the crown of thorns tattooed on his fucking head. Only because I didn't know if I got XP for it. Met with the family of a kid he murdered, went as well as you would expect. Watched him eat his last supper while not giving a shit of how he justified himself. Studio lady is a hipster, so I gave her no quarter either. Left to level up and unlock the final handgun perk. Except it didn't work the way I thought it would. It wasn't that I needed to put 20 points into reflexes, but rather I needed to use handguns long enough so that the number in the bottom right reached 20, which would take a very long time. I'm ready for the parade. I bought more weapons. Finalized my outfit. Got another mission from Pan Am. Talked to Takamura. Started the parade. Made my way through the dense crowds of cultural appropriation and imperialism. Went up to the first sniper. Aside from the number of shots I missed, I didn't do that bad in terms of damage. Looked around some. Found Siri. Hardcore parkour. The sniper got distracted by searching through other people's boxes. Had to fight his entourage. Fought an enemy I'd never seen before, but has a Sasquatch crystal on his back. Fought third sniper. Almost died. Succeeded. Found the vending machine. Had to delete some junk. Went to find the Netrunner. Listened to Hanako's idol sitting debut while drunk. Found the runner. Oda came out of nowhere. Started a fight with him. Really, it wasn't much special. His moves didn't do much damage even when I did get hit. My shots were doing quite a lot. When he uses his gun, I could just stand there and he'd be fine. I bumped it up to hard. His entrance was less impressive. I jumped over his jump. He immediately almost kills me afterwards, so I know the jump from normal to hard is pretty big. I ran away from Oda to heal. His bullets still aren't impressive. I had to perform my rain dance, join the fight proper. I still deal quite a bit of damage to him, and his attacks are fairly easy to dodge until they aren't. It is nice when he enters gun mode, so that way he stands the fuck still so I can shoot him. In his second phase, you learn that he can turn invisible, which he exclusively uses to heal like a little bitch. To be fair, it's not easy to see him. With more flips and tricks, Oda still manages to tickle me with his fireworks as I drain away his health, occasionally being forced to turn and run so I can pull out another gun. I failed some jumps, which is probably a good thing since I would have dropped the gun. Got him into the last stretch, and then in his final rush, he collides his arm on a piece of pipe as I step back and deliver one final shot into his head. I let him live. Takamura meets his idol, but he turns out to be that kind of fan. Her handlers called security on us, so we have to run. Told a guy not to ask too many questions. Played Cyberpunk Doom Edition for a second. Did pro parkour. Escaped the building. Rode to the hideout. Failed Simon Says to see what happens. Talk some. Get shot at. This building is not up to code. Died a bunch because I don't have any implants for some reason. I cleared out the lower levels. Went after Takamura after stumbling around drunk. Fought desperately against 2 shotgunners in close range. Watched the worst flashbang throw ever. Died trying to escape. Fell down the fire hole accidentally and escaped that way to our separate ways. Went to a random hotel in the middle of nowhere. Tried to listen to Johnny for once, but your choices don't matter in this game, so I just jerk off my gun instead. Listen to the message. Leave. Have another heart attack. Wake up in a different hotel in the middle of a different nowhere. Piss off Johnny. Leave. Kill some animals. Went to meet Hanako at Embers. Talked again. Went to leave. Had a migraine. Johnny was kind enough to take my body back to Vic to make sure my teeth aren't chipped after bashing my face on the elevator wall. Gave me 3 options like any good doctor should. Went to the roof. Chose my only real option since the gun on the table is not a Slaught-O-Matic. Got a reading from Misty that should tell you you're making the wrong choices. Went to have a date with Hanako, but her brother ensures that she has no contact with anyone else to save her for himself. Tried fighting a mech and got the shit sniped out of me. Loading the save takes you all the way back to Misty and forces you to do all the dialogue again. Just as a second warning that this ending is the bad ending. After doing that again, I learned you can't save, which is the third warning that this ending is for bad people, but I've already went through hell with this challenge, might as well slap the devil while I'm down there. Plus, I don't want to do all the missions for other endings. Drop testing my guns, snuck into their guest house. Made sure to pick the best area to hold out since I need to kill every single guard without dying. Took out the tryhard in the middle of the room because he clearly wasn't ready to get shot at. Retreated to my bottleneck. Lost half my health from one shot. Took out the sniper, among others. Almost shit myself when I saw the hack message that popped up on my screen. Hacker lost signal once I ran. Killed the hacker. Went back in. Killed the rest. Had to deal with the mech, which was daunting. Got its attention and let Takamura handle it while I got some distance. Shot into its guns to deal big damage when they went big boom. Killed it. I'm worried I might not have enough guns and that Arasaka might be too on their high horse to have any vending machines in their building. Went to Hanako's bedroom where nothing fun happened. Rode the clouds to Arasaka Tower. Walked around a bunch. Thought of how I'd polished that porcelain. Why did I write that? Went to Mikoshi. Talked to the ghost of Mario. Showed him my true feelings. Welcome to the jungle. Was forced to sit down on a freshly warmed chair. The party got wrecked and there was no cake. Couldn't kill the bitch. Got scared by a mech and ran back to safety. Okay. Ran wildly through the jungle and found out the trees speak Japanese. Made it to the elevator but forgot to bring Oda. Takamura rallied the troops. Welcome to totally realistic battle simulator where I put stormtroopers against each other. Ran to the elevator. That one was down for maintenance. Had to go 3 floors up. Ran some more. Got to the last elevator. Then fucked myself and I jumped to what I thought was cover but wasn't. Ran back up the stairs without backup, which was a mistake. Then I died. Went back to the jungle elevator. Tried to wait for Oda, but he isn't as impressive as he was earlier. Maybe it's because he doesn't have his mask. Died again after trying to run up. Decided I didn't have enough guns or armor to fight to the end since I would also have to fight Smasher. Made the decision to go all the way back to before Embers. Do you see why it's called the devil ending yet? Did a Delamain mission. Fought some scats. Did some train spotting. Turned down the difficulty and still got my ass kicked by snipers who could shoot through everything. Took up carpentry on the side. Took justice for a child and even the game permitted I killed this bitch. Some guy wanted his mommy. Had a girls' night out. Went barehanded foresting. Played Mario Kart. Did not kill anyone in the tank, but Mitch and this other guy obviously had more important things to do while his whole family died around him. Give these 2 dudes a raise. Started showing signs of dehydration, but heat stroke set in before I could drink my lemonade. Got kidnapped for my own safety. Saw something I wanted but was for display only. Fought some pro airsofters on my way to get inked when their boombox had me marked for death. Tried to figure out who would bring a box of knives to a revolution. Enjoyed the atmosphere and lighting. Almost failed the challenge again while performing a stunt. Brought peace to a homeless camp by channeling the spirit of Michael Bay. Tried to buy something for reasonable services, but the person didn't like how I looked at their MacBook. Restarted, bought the tablet. Went to go clubbing, but realized that was going to be impossible with no guns and left. Brought Nirvana to a bunch of nut jobs and rescued a monk who spews new age nonsense. Went to download from Maelstrom's private clinic to steal their videos from my WorldStar hip hop account. leveled up for my final time in this challenge and went back to face the music. Back in the woods, I tried to save the world, but Hanako stopped me at the last second. I fought my way through the jungle to the elevator. Oda decided to do nothing. I rise through the levels, finger bang the security forces with an imaginary gun. Still actually have some trouble with mechs and soldiers. Show no mercy to anyone, not even the sumo wrestlers. Up another elevator. Turrets turn to my side and deprive me of any last-second levels to my skills. I almost get pancaked like that girl from that show. Time for the final fight. His attacks aren't terribly powerful, but are strong enough to keep you moving from his melee and force you into a cover to try to hide from his arm cannon. Bounce backs were enough to provide regen without having to waste instant heals while fighting. At half health, his arm explodes and he begins to run while using the missiles on his back, while reinforcements spawn in behind him. As they take their positions to shoot at you, Adam's ultimate is charged and he releases a barrage of missiles that blind and stagger me, draining my health at a very decent rate as I run to the stairs. The soldiers weren't difficult to take out, and after Adam jumps up from behind me, I realize the game is pretty much over since I can literally stand there and be perfectly fine. While I was content to sit there and shoot him to death and not actually try to fight him on very hard, the turrets behind me decided that they need to actually do something and started unloading into my spine. I turned to face them, taking out one fairly quickly, but darted from behind cover to face the second one way too soon, causing it to clip me for just enough damage to kill me. After respawning, I bumped it up to very hard, did my final rain dance, and went back in to face Smasher. He hits noticeably much harder and his melee has a decent lunge to it, forcing me into a mild panic into cover as I try to put some damage into him. His arm cannon takes massive chunks out of my health as my sleep-deprived brain forgot how to deal with the glitched guns, and I almost died again. Darting back and forth, popping again out to fire, he soon showed me his heart. Then I ripped off his arm, the last possible moment in his combo, prompting his second phase where I outran his missiles and stayed far away from the turrets as possible. His arm gun did even worse this round, where he straight up missed me as I stood still. The moments he actually shot me were decent little damage dealers, but nothing to fret about. I was more scared of the heavy security that showed up after he ran again, but they were also easy to kill. Third phase, he went back to the center of the arena and the fight was pretty much over. He fell over, got back up, and hobbled around pathetically until I put one final bullet into him. I took a picture. Then I went to meet with the real hero of this story so I could tell him I tried to join him, but my character was forced to be an idiot by the plot. He falls over in defeat. I go to space. I get what I deserved. I refuse to sell my soul. I show the scientist what I think of her. I started playing Mass Effect Andromeda for some reason. Someone forgot to change the batteries on the sun, and I did not beat Cyberpunk 2077 with only the Slaught-O-Matic. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please leave a like and let me know what your favorite part of it was in the comments section down below. If you did not like the video, then please dislike it and let me know what your least favorite part of the video was. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Harshin out.